Hi, I'm Zach and welcome to the video. They usually say you get what you pay for. So, when we get this cheap gaming retro handheld here, the R36S, we're going to take a look at it. We're going to compare it to some of the other gaming handhelds that are out there around the similar price and see, are we really getting a deal, or is the R36S going back in the box? So right off the bat, I want to start with the price of the R36S. I got this one for $36. Now, the prices on these gaming handhelds, no matter what they are, vary dramatically from day to day. This particular one I got from AliExpress. Now, if you want something with a better return service or faster delivery, you could definitely look at Amazon, but you're going to be paying a much higher price around Amazon. And I'm going to be using this comparison at the $36 price point. Always be on the lookout for a new deal or sale on any of these retro handhelds. So let's start with some of the missing features that you might find on other handheld consoles. Number one, there's no HDMI out port. So this is going to be strictly for handheld. You're not going to be able to hook this up to a monitor or TV. You do not have Bluetooth. You do not have Wi-Fi. Even though we do not have Wi-Fi on this system, we do have two USB-C ports on the bottom. One for power and one to hook up external devices, including Wi-Fi adapters. Let's take a look at some of the physical features on this device. On our right side here, we're going to have a volume rocker and a SD card slot 1. Over here on the left side, we have a SD card slot 2. And this is mainly just for ROMs, whereas the other side is for OS and a partition for ROMs. We also have a power and reset button. And those are pretty hard to press. Running my finger across them isn't going to actuate those two buttons. All right, along the bottom, we do have our two USB-C ports. We also have a 3.5 millimeter audio jack. Take a look here at the face buttons and D-pad. So right out of the box, the D-pad is a little stiff. I had to open up the back of this device and loosen up the motherboard. And there's one screw on the motherboard. We're just gonna unscrew that a little bit, not all the way, just kind of loosen up some of the tension that's being applied to the D-pad. And yeah, much more comfortable after loosening up that motherboard just a tiny bit. Really like a quarter return, if even that. So looking at some of the other buttons, we have a select and start. And those are pretty clicky. We also have this bonus FN function button. Now, it doesn't do anything but make noise. So there is some custom firmware that will activate this function button to actually be usable. But right out of the box, that's all it's going to do for you. Right above that, you've got your speaker. To the right there, we have our face buttons, A, B, X, Y. And I found them, they're not very clicky. A little bit of resistance to them, a little more than I'm used to on other systems. I know a lot of people were complaining about these buttons, but I don't know if like loosening the motherboard also helped them, but they're fine. Not the greatest, but they're far from the worst buttons I've ever used. And these joysticks are very responsive. I've enjoyed being able to use these for fighting games in arcade, or if I'm playing Dreamcast, Nintendo 64 games, even some PSP or PlayStation 1 games, I find these joysticks to just work a little bit better on some of those games. I guess it's just what my muscle memory is using a joystick and not a D-pad for those. So great to have that option down there. On the back, we have 4 shoulder buttons. They're very clicky, they're pretty loud, and they're quite big. And out of the box, I thought this looked really bad. I was like, wow, those things are huge. But actually putting this into your hand and holding it, it actually gives a place for your finger to sit because of their shape and size. In fact, they're resistive enough to pressing that I really have to commit to it to press them. But like setting my fingers back there to support this device has really made this a lot more comfortable to hold than some of the other gaming handhelds that I have. Also on the back, we do have a removable battery. And so that's kind of nice to be able to open up and swap out a battery if needed. So on the R36S, the screen is going to be a 640 by 480. That's going to be the same resolution as we have on the 35XX. Now the resolution of 640 by 480, when comparing it to my RGB 30 that has a 720 screen, yeah, I can kind of see the difference in there. That screen does look sharper and better, but at the end of the day, the resolution of most of these games was running at most 640 by 480, if not under. So this screen is more than enough to actually represent a lot of the gaming that you're going to be playing on here. So the R36S is going to be running ArkOS. And ArkOS is a great operating system. It's going to give you access to a lot of the different cores and emulators that you're going to be able to get to. It's running Emulation Station, so the presentation is done very well. In fact, I have this set up right now in kiosk mode, which means I can hand this off to somebody and there's no way to get into the settings or options to kind of change up how I've set up this device. Now, there's always a hotkey to get into RetroArch, and you can still mess things up there when you're inside emulation. But for the most part, you know, I can hand this off to my children and they're going to be able to navigate, select, and they're not accidentally going to come in and reassign emulators. Really nice that Emulation Station has those features built in to be able to lock that out. And talking about the cores in emulation, you're actually going to be running up to PSP. Now, not very many PSP. As you're going to see in this footage, I got Soul Calibur running on PSP, and it's running well enough that I would find this playable. For anybody who wants an authentic experience, well, number one, you're playing on a 4:3 screen. So right there, we're pretty far off, right? But it does play. I have a good time with it, and it's holding a pretty good frame rate. So one of the great things that I like about the 35XX running ArkOS was its quick shutdown and save procedure. You're going to get that on ArkOS after you've updated to the newest firmware. All right, so we're in this, and then R3 and the power button. Gonna quit, save, and shut down. Now, when we come back to our device, we're going to go ahead and hit the power button. It'll boot up. We'll see our splash screen. And it'll load ArkOS. And here we are, right back into our game. So it's a little longer to do that process than, say, through ArkOS or Onion OS, but the fact that we have that option to just quickly save and shut down our game so that we can put down the system and come back to it later. So with the R36S, I think you're getting way more than what you're paying for. In fact, if you're looking at getting into retro gaming handhelds and you're not quite sure which way you want to go, what systems, because there's so many to pick from, spend the $36. You'll be able to see which features really are going to matter to you the most. Having Wi-Fi, that might be a deal breaker. Not having the HDMI out might be bothering you. Or you can see if you're really going to be using these joysticks in your retro gaming. So the R36 isn't going back in the box. It's going to go into a case and back into my backpack. I like just having a handheld that I can easily hand off to people, and I really don't have to worry about it, and I know that it's going to play games up to Dreamcast or PSP. For $36, it comes in way under any of the other gaming handhelds that I own. So for that, yeah, I recommend the R36S. It's a great starter one, even if you have other handhelds. If you can find this for around that $36 price, I don't think it's a bad one to pick up, play around with, test out some things. So thanks for watching. I'd like to hear from you on your thoughts on the R36S. Do you think it's worth it? Is it something that you think you might buy? Or what is your favorite gaming handheld that you have right now? If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next video.